Imagine you're at dinner with friends or listening to a podcast, and the topic suddenly shifts to dating anecdotes, dramatic breakups, or details about someone's latest hookup. You smile, you nod, maybe you make a joke to hide your discomfort, but inside you feel a familiar void, a small sting telling you that you're living on a different frequency. Have you ever felt like the whole world received an instruction manual on love and intimacy, but you were handed an empty envelope? But today I want to break that stigma. If you find yourself in this situation, I want to tell you that your experience is not a factory defect. In fact, psychology suggests that many people walking this path share a series of traits, some of them quite weird or unusual, that are not flaws but mechanisms of a deep and often highly protective mind. The intelligence of the protection system. Before we dive into the traits, we need a mindset shift. Most people see a lack of experience as an absence, lack of courage, lack of opportunity. But in clinical psychology, we often see it as a presence. It is the presence of a highly sophisticated alert system. It's not that nothing is happening to you. It's that your brain cares so much about your emotional integrity that it has preferred safe isolation over the risk of a mediocre or painful connection. Your brain is not your enemy. It is a guardian that has perhaps kept the castle gates closed for too long because no one taught it that the keys were also in its hand. The 5 weird traits and their scientific explanation. 1. Critical hyper-observation. The external analyst. Do you find that when you are attracted to someone, instead of enjoying the flirtation, you start dissecting every gesture, every word, and every possible future disaster? This is known as hyper-reflexivity. While others jump into the pool without checking for water, you're analysing the chemical composition of the chlorine and the probability of a leg cramp mid-lane. The mechanism. This happens because your prefrontal cortex, the rational part, is hijacking your limbic system, the emotional part. You use logic as a shield. If you can intellectualize love, you don't have to feel the vulnerability of being rejected. 2. The world observer syndrome. Physical disconnection. Many people without sexual or relationship experience feel they live entirely in their heads. They are great readers, creatives, or experts in their fields, but they feel their body is just a vehicle to carry their brain around. The mechanism. This is often linked to functional alexithymia or mild somatic dissociation. If you didn't feel safe in your own skin during childhood, you learn to take refuge in the world of ideas. Romance requires dropping into the body. And for you, the body feels like unexplored or dangerous territory. 3. Non-negotiable. Integrity of values. The paradox of purity. People like this are often labelled as too picky, but what's really happening is an extremely high sense of congruence. The mechanism. In a world of disposable dates, your brain processes intimacy as something of high value. Scientifically, this relates to high conscientiousness. You cannot play at liking someone if you don't feel a deep connection, because your ethical system won't allow for falsehood. For you, sex isn't just friction, it's a surrender of identity. 4. Selective social trauma memory. The imprint effect. You likely remember a school rejection or a hurtful comment about your looks from 10 years ago with painful clarity. While others forgot, for you, it is a present truth. The mechanism. This is due to a hyperactive amygdala. In those with little experience, social rejection events are recorded with a fluorescent highlighter. Your brain has categorized romance as a threat to ego survival. 5. Defensive self-sufficiency, the proud hermit. You've learned to do everything alone. You've built a life where you don't need anyone. You take pride in your independence, but deep down, that independence is your wall. The mechanism. This is what we call avoidant or disorganized attachment. It's the deep belief that needing company is a weakness that exposes you to the control of others. It's easier to say, I don't want anyone, than to admit, I'm terrified they'll need me and then leave. Mechanism explanation. Why does my brain do this? Imagine your ability to connect with others as an operating system. Most people run a version that tolerates bugs, viruses, and constant restarts. But you, perhaps because of your personal history or temperament, run a system with a military-grade firewall. From a neuroscience perspective, this translates to a low tolerance for dopaminergic uncertainty. Romance is uncertain by nature. For a brain that constantly seeks security, uncertainty doesn't feel like excitement. It feels like cortisol. If you've never had a partner, it's likely that your nervous system is set to an emotional, energy-saving mode. You avoid conflict and risk because your internal battery drains very quickly with social drama. Practical strategies. How to start opening the doors. Effective labeling. When you feel paralyzed by someone you like, don't say, "I'm useless." Say, "My amygdala is detecting a risk of rejection and is trying to protect me." This strips the emotion of its power. Sensor perceptive. Gradual exposure. Don't try to go on a 4-hour date tomorrow. Start by reconnecting with your body through activities that force you into your senses. Cold/hot baths, yoga, walking barefoot. Teach your brain that being in the body is safe. Reframe rejection as data, not a verdict. Change the narrative from "I'm worthless" to "This person is not compatible with my current system." Rejection is simply a lack of chemical and psychological fit, not a sentence on your value. Warnings and disclaimers. It's important to mention that these traits can also be present in highly sensitive people, HSPs whose sensory systems are naturally overloaded, or in neurodivergent individuals, such as those with ADHD or high-functioning autism. In these cases, the lack of experience isn't about fear, but rather a different way of processing social and sensory signals. If this applies to you, exposure tools need to be much gentler and adapted to your sensory pace. Don't compare yourself to the norm. Your timeline is unique. Psychological support. A message for your internal guardian. I want to speak directly to that part of you that has kept the gates closed. That part of you is brave. It has protected you from humiliation and broken hearts you weren't ready to manage. Virginity or prolonged singleness are not stains on your record. They are testimony that you take life and intimacy seriously. You haven't wasted time. You've been building a fortress, but fortresses have doors, and those doors open from the inside whenever you decide that the risk of being seen is worth more than the comfort of being alone. You're not behind in the race. You're simply walking a deeper, more reflective path. If you've identified with any of these traits, I'd love to read your story in the comments. You're not alone in this, even if the silence sometimes makes it feel that way. Remember that there's nothing weird about you that understanding and self-love can't transform into a strength. See you in the next video.